So in this lesson, we are going to be looking at the female reproductive system. And then lastly, we'll also look at the menstrual cycle of the females. So right here in front of your screen right now is the sectional view of all the organs that are involved in the female reproductive system. Obviously, it's not clear right now, so I'll just move on to the front view of the female reproductive organs. So these are your female reproductive organs right now in front of your screen. So starting right here, you have your two pairs of ovaries. So here the female reproductive system has two pair of ovaries. So this can be compared to the testes in the male reproductive system, as you also have two pairs of testes in the male reproductive organ. So we'll look briefly on the functions of the ovaries, which is to produce your egg cells. So as in the male reproductive system you produce sperm cells, here in the ovaries you then produce your egg cells. In addition to this, you then secrete estrogen and progesterone. We'll look at estrogen and progesterone when we do the menstrual cycle. So there's a primary function of your ovaries. And then right here you have your fallopian tube, which is also called the oviduct. So the fallopian tube connects the ovaries, which we have just discussed, to the uterus of the female reproductive system, and the main function of it is to transport the egg cell from the ovaries into your uterus. Here in the fallopian tube, this is where fertilization usually occurs. It can occur anywhere else in the female reproductive organ, but in most instances it occurs here in your fallopian tube. So this is the usual site of fertilization. This is where your egg cell usually meets the sperm cell. And then right here you have this canal here, which we call the uterus, which is used to carry the growing embryo and the fetus during gestation, which is right here. You can see in this label the uterus is all of this here. And then here, this is the lining of the uterus, which is called the endometrium. So this endometrium will provide attachment for the embryo, and this is where nutritional exchange can occur between the growing fetus here and the mother during gestation, where the placenta would also develop right here in the endometrium. So you just have to make a distinction between uterus, endometrium, and also the uterine canal. So the uterus is all of this here, as you can see right here. This is the uterus, and then the lining, the inner lining of the uterus, is what we call the endometrium. And then lastly, this space, this cavity here, is your uterine cavity. And then down here we then have the neck of your uterus, which we usually call the cervix. So the cervix is the neck of the female reproductive system. It is usually narrow, but obviously during baby delivery it will then stretch to allow the baby to come out of the uterus. And then lastly here we have the vagina or the birth canal. So here in the vagina, during sexual intercourse, this is where the penis will then be inserted, and then the sperm cells would usually be deposited here, and then they would swim up and then eventually go to the fallopian tube. And then lastly, it is to provide the passage for childbirth during delivery. So this is the female reproductive system. Obviously it is more complicated compared to the male reproductive system because it also involves menstrual cycle, which we'll look onto just after this lesson. Thank you.